Hello and welcome to another episode of O Faces. I am actually not your host, but I am tonight. This is Megan with Dirty Girls Corner, and we also have
Carrie.
And we have a special guest tonight. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, this is Melissa.
We have Melissa here. She's gonna... Do I just press this again?
No, it stops on its own. Yeah.
All right, Miss Mocha is actually feeling a little under the weather, so we're gonna try and do this by ourselves tonight. So
yeah.
Me and Carrie might mess up a little bit, so maybe
bear with us, guys.
Be a little patient with us.
Yeah.
But so tonight we're talking to Melissa, and she is polyamorous. So do you want to tell us a little bit how you got started in the lifestyle?
Yeah.
Or just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. So first, I just want to say thank you guys so much for inviting me out. This is super fun.
Oh,
Great
yeah,
experience.
we're excited to
Love
have
hanging
you.
out with you, Megan.
I like your energy already.
Oh, yeah.
I can tell you're
great.
cool.
Yeah.
I am cool as shit.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I told you. I wanted her to come.
No, it really is an honor, and I always love making new friends. And this is, not something that is widely talked about. It's, lifestyle and polyamory is really picking up steam, in the media, and it's really something that everyday people are doing, living this love style. So I didn't start out as polyamorous. I didn't even really know what that was. I started where a lot of people, I think, start, which is in the lifestyle, swinging, with my husband that I've been married to for 13 years. And I think that prior to entering into, a white picket fence monogamous marriage, we both definitely had our fair share of, great sexual exploits and very healthy sexual relationships.
So you'd kind of already experimented a decent amount, had some experience.
Yeah. And then into our marriage, I really started feeling the pull of not wanting to be a closeted bisexual woman and to express
Did he know you were bisexual?
He definitely knew that I had tendencies. I was always checking out other women, but I was very afraid to come out to him. I just thought, oh my God, what does that mean? Will he judge me? And so we started talking about me being with another woman. And that was really hot, and we kind of fetishized that, and we talked a lot about what would that look like, and that led us into exploring swinging. So we went to Trapeze here in Atlanta.
Yep.
Shout out to Trapeze.
We talk about Trapeze a lot.
Yes.
Yep.
That's commonly mentioned on this podcast for sure.
We love us some Trapeze. Lots of good experiences.
We were really lucky to be able to come under the wing of some really great LS people that we met at Trapeze. And we've known them now for years, and are still, hanging out with them. So it was a really great transition. The good thing about swinging was that it felt very comfortable for me and my husband. It was a connected experience that we could share together. But a lot of times I felt very emotionally disconnected.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of rules in swinging that just didn't speak to me wanting to have more independent relationships. And so, I found myself in a polyamorous relationship. Still didn't really know what that term meant, but I knew that it emotionally fulfilled me more so than swinging. And started doing a lot of research with my husband. There were a lot of resources that we were reading together. And there's a lot now on social media about how to go into polyamory in a healthy, consensual way.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how we got started.
I agree. There's a lot more than there used to be, for sure. Even on Instagram, there's a couple poly accounts that I follow that have tips on jealousy or tips on I'll save the good ones that I'll see. But there's a lot more resources than there used to be, for sure.
Absolutely.
And even on mainstream media, like you said, there's a few shows that I've seen where someone's poly, and it you hope that they explain it in a good way where it's not always making it look bad.
Right.
So there's a few where I've seen where it does show it the reality of it, where it does explain it nicely. So I like that because it's giving people a taste for something. So it's not as crazy when they hear it.
Yeah, I think when I first came out as polyamorous, and even going into that initial research, it seems so outlandish. You know, a lot of people, I think, in lifestyle, they compartmentalize the sexual aspect. Like, you know, if you're just having sex and you're not catching feelings or you're not getting into a deep romantic relationship, then it's fine because then there's no danger there.
Right.
And there's a lot of fear putting yourself in that position to really love and to feel. The way that my husband and I deal with this is we recognize that we are our own individual people. So his time is not my time is not his. And we really want each other to live our happiest selves, whatever that means. We also have an incredible amount of trust, which you need in the lifestyle.
Oh, for sure.
But even more so when you're opening yourself up to be emotionally vulnerable, right? That shit is scary.
Yeah.
You know, I hear a lot of like, oh my God,
level.
is that an opening up to like your spouse leaving you? Or, you
What
know,
if they fall in love and love them more than they love you?
Right.
Yeah, those are all really common questions. And you do have to kind of take it slow. I will say, I feel like my husband and I are kind of maybe the exception and not the norm. We really fell into polyamory very easily. It felt very natural for both of us. And I think that he feels better knowing that I'm seeking out partnerships in which someone loves me and cares for me, my well-being. Maybe versus in lifestyle where you're having more casual encounters or people are not really looking out for your maybe overall well-being. It can be very transactional.
Or where they're more worried about their pleasure versus your pleasure, possibly.
Yeah, absolutely. And not to say anything against, you know, swinging or LS or anything like that, because, I mean, my husband and I are as kinky as they come. We still enjoy lifestyle events and things like that. I just need that emotional connection and ultimately want to have a partner that is going to be in my life, stick around. The main goal would be to be, you know, cool with my family and be able to just kind of like do life together.
Right.
Which feels really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that term would... You guys are kitchen table poly, right?
Yeah, so there are a couple different
open and your kids know and all of those things.
So I'll kind of explain the different types of polyamory. There is solo polyamory, so you know that as a single person or as an individual person, you can be married and be solo poly, but you know that you are going to go in and out of any relationship very freely. A lot of times solo polyamory includes no expectations of the relationship. You're not looking for another person to live with you, or you're not looking to join finances. And then you have parallel polyamory. So an example of this, let's just say we have two couples, and I'm dating a married man, and me and the married man's wife don't really interact. We know of each other. Everything is consensual, but
you don't hang out or be friends.
We don't hang out, right. And there's respect all around. There's also garden party poly, which is not as much family enmeshment. So if I were polyamorous with you, Megan, and our spouses, we could maybe be at a function together and everything would be copacetic, but your husband and my husband wouldn't be bros on the weekends.
Yeah.
They would be able to be cordial
civil
to each other, civil, friendly.
Respectful, but not hang out.
Right.
Be
and
buddies.
then kitchen table polyamory is where there is a lot of family enmeshment, life enmeshment, where maybe my partner comes to my kids' school play, or I go to, you know, a family function of theirs. We can sit down, we can have a meal. It's a joyous occasion. Everyone is enthusiastically consensual and, for the most part, very friendly. I will say, people really feel like kitchen table poly is kind of like the pinnacle, right? Like, oh my God, everybody's in this kumbaya environment. I have to tell you, I've experienced pretty much every type of polyamory, and kitchen table is by far the hardest to get together.
Oh, yeah, totally.
That many personalities wanting to be in each other's space, it's a lot. It can be a lot.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's the reason why people kind of consider that the pinnacle, because
it's so
if
rare.
You have reached it, you've obviously put in the work to get there. Yeah.
It does take a lot of work. There's a lot of communication that has to happen with all parties, and it really has to grow organically. I think a lot of people that are polyamorous, they're so dead set on making sure that someone accepts all of their partners, and sometimes that can feel really forced and inorganic. So it is really important to just allow things to kind of take their time and grow in a really organic way.
Yeah, make sure
I've
everyone's
been in
comfortable.
situations where it feels really forced, and I can tell that maybe another partner is just not feeling it.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, girl, like, we don't have to do this.
Yeah.
It's totally fine. We can go back to parallel.
To be best friends.
We don't have to be besties. I am really lucky that right now I'm in a polyamorous relationship where we have a really large polycule. So there's a total of 4 married couples. We don't all engage with each other, but it would probably take me a little while to explain the entire configuration.
You're all connected in some way.
We're all connected in some way, and that feels really
other.
good. There's also a great sense of support that comes from polyamory. I mean, you know, your car breaks down, there's a boyfriend for that.
Oh my God.
I have a friend who she's poly, and she's married and has 2 kids, and she has a boyfriend, and he has babysat their kids while her and her husband went on a date.
Yeah.
And then one time her car broke down, that exact situation. Her car broke down, and the husband was at home with the kids, and they were sleeping, and he didn't want to wake the kids up. And so he called the boyfriend. He's like, hey, where are you? Are you by chance anywhere close to her? Could you go get her? And the boyfriend went and picked her up and helped get her car towed while he stayed home with the kids, so he didn't have to wake the kids up and get them out of bed. You know, it's basically like someone else. It's almost like a extension of family or a really good friend, someone that's looking out for your well-being and cares about you. Like, I mean, that's pretty awesome.
It gives me all the feels when you describe it like that, because really, for me, polyamory is about loving abundantly and being loved abundantly, and that's it. I've been, you know, in my early phases of polyamory, you know, I got a lot of flack. You know, are you a husband stealer? Or when are you, you know, is there trouble in your own marriage? People seem to really struggle with the concept of, I just want more love in my life. And I have a lot of love to give. And I could give that all to my husband, but I don't think that I can meet all of his needs, and he can't meet all of mine, and that's totally okay. Now, he's amazing. He meets a lot of my needs, emotionally and physically.
He's a good dude,
yeah, he's a great dude. But there are certain aspects of my personality that need to be fed into, and, you know, polyamory is a great extension of how to just tap into that with additional partners. It's been really great so far.
Yeah. Well, and I think, I know, like, one of the ways that I felt like reading about polyamory and learning about more about it, it's like there's so many ways that people feel loved, and like your love languages might be a little bit different.
Right.
So like, let's say my love language, like I need a lot of words of affirmation, but maybe my husband is not super good about communicating, and like that's really hard for him. So like, it's not necessarily fair for me to put all of my needs on one person all the time. So that opens that up to, there's someone else that can fulfill some of those things for you, and it almost takes the pressure off your other partner. Like for Tommy travels a lot, and so he likes the fact if I'm like dating someone, he knows there's someone else looking out for me, that's checking up on me, that's seeing if I had a good day. If he couldn't get a hold of me, or like he's really busy at work, he knows there's someone else that's kind of, you know, checking on me and fulfilling some of those needs possibly that he's not able to. It's not that he doesn't want to.
Right.
It's that sometimes there's situations where he just can't.
Isn't accessible.
Yeah. And it's not, you know, that he doesn't want to. It's just, you know, it's a lot to be everything to someone. And to all of your happiness.
When you say that, it's overwhelming to me. You know, I'm a wife, I'm a mom, I'm a businesswoman. To be someone's everything seems to me, I feel very spread thin.
I was going to say, it always kind of like pulls you into all of these separate little pieces, because you have to be everything in all of those different roles. And it's, as you know, for anyone, that's incredibly challenging.
Yeah, it can be a lot of pressure. I really love my husband's girlfriend. She is, you know, she loves him and cares for him. And I think transitioning away from swinging, what really bit the bullet for me was that I was content and happy knowing that somebody else was really caring for my spouse, for my other partner. That brought me so much joy to know that.
And that term is called Compersion. When you feel excited, instead of like jealous, you're feeling excited and love for their
happiness,
like what they're getting to do.
Yeah. Now, I will say that there is a great debate in Polyland about whether compersion is necessary to be, quote, successful in polyamory. I have met with a lot of people that will outright say, I don't need to be happy for your happiness. I agree that it's not a necessity, but it really does make things, in my experience, a lot easier, not only on our mutual partner, but just getting that vibe. You mentioned, Carrie, like your energy. For someone to say, well, if you're joyful, I don't have to be joyful for you. I don't subscribe to that.
Yeah, it kind of kills it a little bit. Like, you want everyone to be happy and
like, even if you have moments of struggle, just admitting, okay, yeah, I'm really struggling with your relationship with my spouse or whatever the issue is. I'm having jealousy or what have you. To be vocal about that is great. But to see your partner be happy and joyful, whether it's that they're getting giddy for getting dressed for a first date, like my husband is really big on compersion. He really loves to like pick out my outfits for my dates and likes to hear about my dates afterwards. And he just loves to see me glow and shine and be happy.
Yeah.
But it's not a requirement. That is a big debate. I understand it. I just don't subscribe to not having compersion for your partner's joy.
Yeah.
That's almost like next level emotional kind of connection, though. Like that's so many people go through their everyday lives, vanilla people that will never, not even entertain something like that. So it really is kind of like next level, emotions, which is super cool.
Yeah. I feel like through this journey and all the reading and, different podcasts and, I even saw a polytherapist for quite a bit. I feel like I have developed like this third eye with a crystal.
I was going to say, it's like, you're on your way to nirvana. Like you're kind of like etching your way.
I will say I'm in a very peaceful place in my life and I feel very fulfilled. And my husband and I are just in this we've been, like I said, we kind of fell into polyamory
really
very
naturally,
easily. But it feels really good. We're in a really fulfilled place.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's good.
So how long have you been lifestyle total?
So I was in the lifestyle prior to being married. I was actually heavily into the BDSM and kink community here in Atlanta. I had several dom-sub relationships and was very involved in LS, had a lot of group sex. And, I just kind of had this idea that I needed to just kind of settle all that down, simmer all that down, pop out some babies, get a hot, blonde hair, blue eyed guy. And, just
Carrie's raising her hand like, yes, I like that.
Yes, that's what I'm married to.
But I think, we have total been in the lifestyle for several years now and living polyamorously for 3 years.
Gotcha.
So it's been a good job. I mean, we haven't been completely open. Like with most of our friends and some of our family, we are open. My mother knows that I'm polyamorous and she's fully supportive. But things like work and, you have to be kind of careful, just like with LS, like you don't really broadcast it because we're not a protected class.
Yeah.
And that kind of poses challenges with like not living authentically. Maybe your partners are around and you can't even like touch each other's hands. And you really have to talk about that within your polyamorous relationships. Like what is your level of comfort to display the relationship, even at a restaurant? You know, if your coworker sees you kissing someone that's not your spouse.
How are you going to deal with that? Or what are you going to say if they say something to you?
Right.
I'm here, I'm queer, I'm polyamorous, I'm out, I'm about. If you see me, say hi.
Yeah, that's kind of how
I've probably gone on a date with your husband.
We've kind of said like, well, if I'm out and somebody sees me, if they got the balls to ask me what's going on, I'm going to tell them. Because
we're definitely not shy about it either. You know, we, family knows, our children know, in terms of work, it's not a concern. So, we like living a very authentic lifestyle.
That's awesome.
When we say lifestyle, we're not just talking about swinging. Like, this is how we live our lives.
Right.
Yeah.
So
it's very sex
who
positive.
You are. Yeah, part of who you are.
Yeah.
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Me too.
You mentioned something, Carrie. You talked about being open to your kids. Tell me a little bit about what that looks like for you, because I want to speak on polyamory with kids.
No. She has like play dates and stuff at her house.
Yeah.
And the kids like, no.
Well,
Wow.
I have adult children.
They're older.
And only one lives at home.
Okay.
So the one that doesn't live at home, we haven't had a conversation with that child about our lifestyle, but he's definitely aware that there's been a shift in how we, operate our lives. So that's not really a concern. The child that is at home, when I started having solo play dates, I was meeting at hotels, or I don't think I ever actually went to someone else's house. I think I just met at hotels, but I wanted to be able to have solo play dates in the comfort of my home. Mm-hmm. So I, took I think she was probably 19 at the time, out to lunch, and was just like, look, your dad and I are in an open marriage. We both have sex with other people. I like having people come over to the house, so there's a chance that you may see strange men. Like, I was trying to schedule play dates around her schedule, and I was like, why am I living my life around her? Like,
right.
I want these guys to be able to come over, and my schedule is already kind of packed. Like, I want to be able to come over and have a play date and enjoy myself. So she basically said that she had already figured out years ago that we were swingers. So she wasn't really surprised. And
it's funny what kids know.
The last play date, the last play date that I had a couple of weeks ago, the guy, I knew that she was up and about in the house, and she's never really met anyone. Mm-hmm. So I told him to kind of hang back until my daughter went into her room, and she came upstairs, and she was like, there's someone out on the front porch, right? And I was like, okay, thank you.
You're like, yes, I'm waiting for you to go to your room. Can you please go to your room now?
He came over to fuck me. I'm like, go away.
Mind your business.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So I just, I wanted to be able to have that freedom of just being able to have people come to the house
live authentically as yourself.
Yeah. And I didn't want there to be any awkward moments. So, I mean, there have been plenty, but just with, she knows what's going on, and, but I don't care anymore. Honestly,
Right.
I don't care. Like, your mom's a freak, and,
Yeah.
And I think just having honest, age-appropriate conversations with kids is really key, whether you're talking about lifestyle or polyamory or anything like that. We have smaller children. Our kids are 11 and 7, and pretty early on in our polyamorous journey, like you said, I wanted to not be beholden to hotels, to meet with my lovers, someone that I was in like a deeper emotionally connected relationship with.
You wanted to be able to share your life with them.
I wanted to be able to share my life with them. And so we had conversations that were age appropriate. It came about through the surrogacy. I was a surrogate for two gay dads, and that really opened the conversation of sexuality, and you can love who you want, and by the way,
alternative lifestyles.
Yeah. And it really just took off from there. And so then, we would introduce the kids to our special friends. Then they would see us hug, maybe a kiss on the cheek, and then we would say, this is mommy's partner. Girlfriend, boyfriend, what have you. And then that progressed to more time in the home, to overnight dates. Now we all have breakfast together in the morning. Mm-hmm. So, you have to make sure that you're having those conversations at an age-appropriate level. My son did have some squirrely feelings about a particular partner that I had. He thought, oh my God, are you and dad getting a divorce? So there was a lot of reassurance that we had to have there. And I thought, oh God, am I fucking my kid? Is this going to result in a therapy bill? Mm-hmm. But we just took it slow. And we, above all else, let our kids know this is okay. This is consensual. Mom and dad are both in agreement to this. We had to sit down, as a family and talk about it. But since that point in time, it's just become our new normal. And my kids, love my current partner.
Yeah.
And And my husband's partner, we all get along really well. You don't have to. Some people say, oh my God, I can't believe that you are, introducing your young kids to polyamory. Again, I just feel like it's more love for my kids.
Well, yeah, it's more people that are looking out for them. And it is a case-by-case basis. Like, there might be one partner where, maybe they're not as comfortable with that. And so you maybe don't do that with that partner.
Yeah.
Or,
that's a big part of vetting, too.
Yeah, that's when you talk about those things.
Yeah, when you're going on those first couple dates, it's like, okay, well, how do you feel about me having kids? Just as I would, honestly, as a single woman or a single mom. I apply a lot of those same
when I'm dating someone, they're like, okay, well, like if they've never dated someone who's open or poly, they're like, okay, well, what, do I have to meet your husband or how does that work? And I'm like, honestly, it's like dating a single mom. Because my husband travels all the time. So it's more my children that will change my schedule than anything. I'm like, so if you have dated someone with kids, it's kind of the exact same. It's just dating a woman. I'm just a human woman.
You have to give like analogies.
Yeah. It's like, well,
for them
just
to be able to
like a human being.
Yeah. Now, some poly people I've met, they do have marital existing relationship boundaries with their spouse or their nesting partner where it's like, I want to meet so-and-so before you even go on a date.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I personally like to, if I'm if I'm dating someone that is married, I particularly like to meet their spouse at their comfort level because I feel like you can tell a lot about what environment your partner is in based on their home situation. Yeah. So if you have a spouse where you're not getting good energy or they're negative towards you or they don't engage with you, it's kind of like, okay, is this going to be a rocky road if I choose to date you? Is it going to be drama?
Yeah. Or you're constantly feeling like unwanted in a way?
I have been in relationships where I did not feel very validated by my metamors. So a metamor is your partner's other partners. And that was not a really great feeling. Again, we don't have to be besties and go, get our pedicures done every week, but there is comfort and solace.
Civil. You want them to kind of be kind, be thoughtful of your feelings
and enthusiastically supportive.
Yeah.
And I think there's a distinction between being supportive and being enthusiastically supportive.
Yeah.
For me, what that looks like, a lot of it does have to deal with compersion. Mm-hmm. If I'm seeing that maybe my partner has another partner that is just a ball of nerves or jealousy or they're a hater or, maybe some irrational fear that they can't manage on their own and it's bleeding into my relationship with our mutual partner, that would be a red flag for me.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of talking on my other social media platforms about vetting. Vetting is extremely important in all aspects of the lifestyle, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. We talk about vetting like play dates and single males and for parties and all of those things.
I think the more experience you get in lifestyle, the more strict you become with that process, right? So I was going to say, like, do you have trouble finding people? Do you get frustrated? Do you have conversations with your husband where you're like, I thought it would be so easy to be able, because I feel like I have those conversations with Steve about, kind of finding like regular quality
dick
play dates. I'm like, I thought it would be so easy. And they'd just be flying at me.
Where's the good dick?
And he's like, no, you're incredibly picky. So that's part of the issue. But I would,
You know what you like. You know what you want.
I know what I'm looking for. So
I think going back to if I were a single woman, what would my standards in a partner be? Now, I'm not looking to get married. I do want a secondary life partner. My husband is 100% on board with that. He understands, what I want for my life, and he wants the same things for us. He would love to be able to have additional people to do life with. As far as is it hard to find quality partners? Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've run into people who, don't have consent from their spouses and they're doing some sly shit.
We talked about that last podcast.
Yeah. Or they are so new to polyamory that they don't even have the groundwork laid out, i.e., what are your boundaries?
Yeah.
What are your...
That's me. I run into that all the time.
Yeah.
It's like that's their first glimpse into polyamory.
Yeah.
Their first experience. I always get these like newbies where I'm like teaching them everything and I'm like,
Yes.
okay. I'm like, all right, this is a lot
I
of
have
work.
developed a little bit of a stigma of I would like to date someone that has had at least a year of like healthy polyamory under their belt, because I don't really enjoy being the sensei. I do a lot of education on my own time, you know, in public spaces.
For other people, but not your partner. Not
Right.
You don't want to have to do that to your partner.
It's just a lot of emotional legwork that it can be very taxing. I think if you are with someone that doesn't have a lot of experience, but if you're seeing positive progress, whatever that means to the both of you, or to an entire polycule, then I can roll with those punches.
Yeah.
If I'm being loved well, you know, I can give a little on that. But it is very frustrating to run into people who are like, "Oh, I've been so curious, but
yeah, that's what I get
haven't."
all the time.
You know,
this seems so exciting. I'm like, okay, so you just want an orgy.
So then I start to ask.
Oh, you want a threesome or an orgy? Okay, cool. That's not what I'm
polyamory. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
That's the swinger side of me. I maybe could make that happen.
Right.
But
I was going to say,
you're going to have to work for that
You
shit.
could totally line that up. I know that you're capable of that.
Well, that's one question I had for you is kind of like that blend of, so for me, like I am a swinger.
Right.
I like to go to a house party. I like to get gangbanged. I like, you know, me and Tommy will, you know, all of our friends, our closest friends are swingers.
Yeah.
And so for me, like the last relationship I was in, he was not at all involved in the swinger aspect of it. And so at first it was like, it was okay that he'd let me I'd go do our thing with me and Tommy, and then I'd kind of tell him about it and he was fine with it. But then after a while, I think he kind of bothered him a little bit. And so it's like, I almost feel like for swingers, sometimes it's almost like, you don't want to be too emotional for swingers, because then wives start getting freaked out that you're going to try and steal their husbands, which the very first time we met was at a hotel party, and you introduced yourself as poly, and you said you felt like a lot of the wives were kind of like,
oh yeah,
kind of almost like, oh hell no, we're not talking to her.
Word spread at that party, and I was looked at like a fucking leper.
Yeah, like almost like, don't talk to her because she's going to try and get my man.
The gag is, I could have fucked any one of those guys at that party, poly or not.
But so it's like with swinger people, you can't be too emotional, because that's, you know,
it's
you don't want them
upon.
thinking you're going to try and steal their husband, which I know boundaries. I would never do that.
Right.
Like, you're my friend. I would never cross boundaries. Like, it's all about rules, boundaries, what people are comfortable with.
I was going to say, and with swingers, that's definitely whenever you meet new couples, it's, what are your rules?
Yeah.
What are your rules? What are the rules?
Yeah.
What are the rules? Fuck the rules, man.
Yeah, man, just have a good time.
Let's just have sex.
Yeah. But so then with swingers, it's like a little too emotional. With poly, I'm a little too sexual. So it's like that blend of finding that blend of like a guy who's poly that wants more of an emotional connection, but either will somewhat participate in the swinger stuff or be okay with me doing the swinger stuff. Trying to find that balance has been very difficult.
One thing that I've noticed is that in the poly community, there is a crossover of people that are swingers, or, you know, they're not closed off in their polyamory. But I see what you're saying. I think the word on the street that I hear in the poly community, there's a lot of talk about sexual health. And there is this misconception, I feel, that in the swinging community, that sexual health is not a huge priority. I know that in my swinging days, I felt like sexual health conversations were not very prevalent, that it was all about party, 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 and let's have a good time. And, you know, I hear about people getting stealthed, and, you know, you hear all these horror stories. But people have to understand that, you know, STIs or having slip-ups in your sexual health practices, that can happen in any relationship configuration.
Even polyamory.
Your monogamous spouse can bang their coworker and bring home herpes any day of the week. It is not something that is exclusive
to gangbangs.
To non-monogamous people, swingers,
For
open
sure.
relationship, polyamorous. You just have to have the conversation, and you have to hold everybody accountable. Personally, I get STI tests every quarter, whether I'm partnered or not.
Yeah.
That's just my personal sexual health preference. I don't have unbarriered sex with any of my partners without getting an STI test from them. And I feel like, once you're there and having sex without condoms, and you're in that, if that's an emotional space for you, which it is for me, you're putting as much trust as you would in anyone that you were in a monogamous relationship.
Right.
I mean, how long did it take you with your monogamous relationships to have sex without a condom?
Yeah.
Not very long for me. I mean, I built that emotional connection.
We waited till we were married. So.
Yeah, right.
we were kind of innocent.
Well, we fucked her on the first date. So, and here we are 13 years
We've been
later.
making up for lost time.
Yeah.
But I think that's a huge misconception, and there is a lot of judgment. I think on both sides. You just mentioned, swingers were judging me because I came to that party and I was like a fucking evangelist. Do you remember? Have you heard about our Lord and Savior, polyamory? I was telling everybody about that shit. I was
They were like,
excited.
have you met that poly girl? Have you met that poly girl? I'm like, yeah, she seems really cool.
Yeah, she's cool as shit.
I'm like, yeah, I just talked to her. She's really awesome. And she's hot too.
You know what's so funny about that party is there were like 4 couples after that we're still friends with that came out of swinging and into polyamory because they were feeling a lot of the same things that many people do.
Oh, yeah.
Swinging it can be a gateway, or you can just stay there, and that's cool too. One isn't better than the other, but a lot of people from that party, messaged me, and Megan,
Because
you and I had
curious,
because
yeah.
they've been curious. What is
Yes.
this emotional connection that I'm still not getting from this particular, from swinging?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's something else that you can have.
Yeah.
You can have lovers and...
Well, see, and at that point, me and Tommy had already kind of discussed some of that stuff and had already been talking about it, but we didn't know anyone. Like, we had no resources. And so it was it was kind of just, okay, we were just kind of guessing. Same as when we first started swinging. It was like, okay, well, are you feeling this way? Okay. Are you kind of feeling this way? Okay. What if it happens? Are you open to it? Would you freak out? And I think at this point we definitely identify as like swingers, but if we felt a connection or we wanted to pursue something, it's available to us. We've discussed it. We've talked about our boundaries, what's okay with us. So it's like, I don't know, but that did kind of you were probably one of the first people I met that was very open about it. That I was like, okay, this is somebody. This is somebody I can talk to and ask a couple questions to. And actually, Melissa did help me come out to my oldest.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I kind of talked to her quite a bit about. I had a feeling that my oldest son had a feeling that me and Tommy had always said that if we thought our kids thought we were cheating, we would rather them know we were open or whatever and have that discussion rather than them think that we were cheating on each other.
Right.
Because to me, that's way worse. I'd much rather them know that we are solid, we're good, we're happy, we're in love.
Right.
But that we feel like we can care about other people and that we can have outside relationships. And so, yeah, Melissa, I called her. She had quite a few talks with me.
We had such good conversations.
Yeah.
And I honestly... I think I told you this, but if I didn't, I have so much gratitude for you, trusting me and being vulnerable in that moment, because it's scary. You don't want to fuck it up. We do so much to fuck up our kids already.
Yeah,
It's this is one more thing.
Mess my kid up.
Yeah, that was definitely a big concern for us as well when we were, thinking about having that conversation with our daughter was, you don't want to do emotional damage, but at the same time you want to live your authentic
you.
self, and it reached a point where I felt like tamping down that side of myself. It just wasn't good for me. I needed to be able to express
and kids pick
it.
up on that too. You know, I see a lot of people that are so staunch in their monogamy that it's just like they're fucking miserable. Where maybe if they had the opportunity to be fulfilled with other activities or people or relationships, you know, maybe they would be healthier in their primary relationship with their spouse. I'm not saying that polyamory is a cure-all for a shitty marriage, but I feel like when you have the freedom to explore whatever it is that you want to explore, and we're not just talking about, you know, sex or other relationships. I mean, if you want to go take a fucking painting class, I feel like just because we're married or, you know, I talk a lot about polyamorous people being married. Obviously, there are people that are single and poly, and that's great, but I'm married and I'm poly, so that's what I speak to. And I think you just have to know and love your spouse enough to let them explore. Because we're not the same people that we were 10 years ago or 20 years ago.
Right.
And if you are, okay.
No, being
That's a different show.
Yeah, being stagnant is not good. You don't grow. You don't grow.
That's
So,
very true.
No, I think that's good. I think, well, and just, we've talked about this a few times, just the amount of communication that the lifestyle in general creates in your relationship. You have to talk about the really hard stuff that normal relationships, they just don't even talk about. They just hold it all down. They push it down. They don't talk about it. They just keep going. And then
Next thing
they're
you know, you haven't fucked your wife in 6 months.
Yes. Whereas, you know, in the lifestyle, it's like, look, this is how I'm feeling.
Right.
This is kind of where I'm at. How do you feel about this? You got to talk about the really hard shit. So then, like, the day-to-day normal stuff, it's so easy to talk about that stuff. Because it's like, if I can talk about this, how could, like, this is so easy to talk about.
I think one of the hardest conversations that my husband and I ever had to have was when I met a partner online that lived across the country. I didn't think that this was going to go anywhere. And I was no stranger to having like online, you know, trysts or whatever, because it was attention. It fulfilled what I thought that I needed emotionally. And this partner ended up moving cross country to Georgia. And at the time, we were not in a relationship, me and this other person. When they moved here, it really, it freaked me out. It definitely freaked my spouse out. And my husband was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, is this a precursor to you leaving me?
Yeah.
I mean, it was a big deal.
Yeah.
But I was just like, you don't know. There's nothing in the world that would ever compel me to leave the life that I vowed to that I want to create with you.
Right.
Now, some people get into swinging or open relationships or polyamory, and it does reveal some cracks that maybe were already there.
Right.
Yeah, we've talked about that several times where you definitely have to be in a solid marriage to even consider going into swinging or having an open marriage or whatever, because if there are cracks,
it's going to bring them. It's going to make them worse. Yeah.
Much worse.
Not
much
only
worse.
a strong sense of trust within your marriage, but I think also a strong sense of self. I see people that are
You gotta do some
non-monogamous,
self-work.
and if a correlation that I see a lot, especially with people who struggle with polyamory, the emotional side. Oh my gosh, like I'm really struggling with the fact that you're in love with someone else. I see a lot of people that when they're having these struggles, it is a direct correlation with maybe an internal struggle. Maybe they don't have a lot of self-confidence. Maybe their self-worth is low. That's just my experience. When I talk to people, friends, again, people on social media where they're just like, I just can't get over this particular struggle. A lot of it traces back to, am I secure enough in my offering as a partner? Yeah. And I always say this, you know, I've had a lot of people say, oh my God, like, you know, your husband, he has a girlfriend. Aren't you afraid? My response to that, and I know this sounds super cocky, my response is, where is he going to go? From me to what?
Right.
Yeah.
I am the best me that will
You're
ever
allowing
exist.
him to have that. Like,
I'm not allowing him to do anything. He's not mine to possess.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm not allowing him to do anything. If he wanted to go, if he didn't want to wake up every day and raise these kids together and love me well, it doesn't matter if another person came into our life. He would have wanted to do that anyway.
Well, Mr. Mocha said that if she leaves, she wasn't yours to begin with. Because she would have left anyways.
But I never felt like my husband was, quote, mine. I realize and acknowledge and have so much gratitude
them as a person.
that this is a person that chooses every single day
to stay with you,
to stay with me and to love me. And that's a powerful affirmation for, I don't really get insecure or jealous. I have very rarely had jealousy within our whole poly or swinging journey or anything like that. And it really comes from my sense of self-worth in myself, but also knowing that me and my husband we're a united front. And that gives me a lot of comfort. So what I would say to people who are struggling is like, are they going to leave, or is it a gateway to us getting a divorce? It's like, you got to have confidence in yourself that what is your offering as a spouse? Yeah. My offering as a wife, honey, you can't touch me with a 10-foot pole, and he would back me 1,000%.
I've had a guy say before, he was like, no, when you got the golden egg, you don't mess with that.
Yeah.
I got a pretty good deal right here.
And I do too. You were talking, Megan, about how at the LS party, like, wives were, kind of eyeballing me as like a husband stealer or whatever. And it's almost insulting to me, because it's kind of like, do you think that I would have that much power? I mean, I'm not much to look at, body-wise.
First off, bullshit, because you're hot as hell.
She's cute. She's cute.
I don't have that much power, but it's also insulting to me, because it's like, what kind of person do you think that I would be to leave my home base, my kids?
That's my thing. I'm like,
it's crazy to me.
I'm like, you know me. Do you really think
even
that's
if you
the
don't
kind of person I am? Like, you think I would do that?
Yeah, it's insulting.
Like, how... it is. It's like,
I'm thinking maybe the husband's relationship with you makes the husband a better person. Like,
well, let's talk about that.
Yeah,
can we talk about that?
There has been times. Okay, there was one time when I was dating. I was dating this one guy, and I literally helped him choose to make, like, he was debating going to do something on the weekend, or helping his wife, like, stay home and pack and do some stuff. And I was like, okay, maybe this is not my place, but if I was your wife, I would want your help at home to pack. So
Did she have an issue with that?
No, I told him, I was like, I think you should help. I think you should probably stay home and help her pack. That would probably I think she would appreciate that. And like, I'm helping her out. No, she was super nice. She was really sweet. But I'm like, I would like to think that if someone was dating my husband, they would have my back. That they would put themselves in my position. And, like, if there was a situation where they knew he needed to be home, like, let's say I was sick or something, they would be like, you know what, to
advocate for you.
Yeah, Megan is sick. You need to take care of her. Like, I'm good. We don't need a date this weekend. Like, you need to stay home with her, take care of the kids, da-da-da. Like, you like to think that they would have your back like that. And kind of, like you said, advocate for them.
I think if I had a relationship with a metamor, that, I definitely would advocate for that. I had a situation recently where my current partner's spouse communicated that Valentine's Day was, like, a really big deal for her. And he has 2 other girlfriends, so me and another lady, and we both were just kind of like, well, one of his partners was like, oh, Valentine's is not really a big deal for me. But our scheduled date night fell on Valentine's Day. And, he and I were like, it's so cute, our first Valentine's Day together. But I knew that his spouse, that was a really important day for her. So I advocated to switch our date night. And I don't know if that was, appreciated or not. I didn't really get much feedback, but it made me feel good in my heart to know that
you were looking out for her.
Well, yeah, I mean, in an indirect way, because I knew that it was important to her.
Right.
And in all honesty, if I am proactively doing things that maybe aren't in the best interests of that primary relationship, then that doesn't benefit me at all.
Right.
Because if your home base isn't strong, I'm not going to get anything.
Exactly.
Right? So it's in everybody's best interest. It benefits their marriage. It benefits her. She gets her special day. And, on the back end, it benefits me because I'm not, I could have had that day. We could have, kept the date. But I knew that it was important to her.
Right.
And so it's a gift. But you talk about making a partner better. I've had a lot of backlash about dating people, and maybe their spouse is like, well, I've been trying to get him to do this for years, and then maybe I'm a breath of fresh air. And that happens a lot in polyamory. It's called new relationship energy. And if you don't manage it, it can be very destructive. A lot of people who are new to polyamory, they just get caught up in the newness and, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I'm actually doing this. And sometimes that new relationship energy can run rampant over other partners in the configuration. And that can be really irresponsible. I've experienced that. I've seen that in people that I've dated, that they are just like so enamored, or Twitter-pated is what I call it. And it wreaks havoc. It can wreak havoc in their marriage.
Super intense, yeah.
Very intense. And
I mean, is it like jealousy over the fact that they're so, crushing on someone else? Or
yeah, I think I've seen it both ways.
Attention's being taken away, or
you can, and you have to manage that. So, if you are planning dates or anything like that, you have to check in with your other partners. Like, how does this feel for you? You were used to this much time with me. Now maybe it's being reduced because I'm seeing someone else. Let's talk about that. What are the ways that we can reconnect when we are together? And you have to be very intentional about that. A lot of married people, they'll sit on their phones for hours. That's not really productive relationship building time. So in polyamory, it's like every second counts. It really does. If you don't have a Google Calendar app, you cannot be polyamorous.
There's so many jokes about
communication and scheduling. Like, those are the two keys right there.
When me and Tommy first started kind of thinking about...
That's the Google Calendar, by the way.
Yeah.
Look how many colors.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah. There's so many jokes about Google Calendars with Poly.
Time management is important.
Yes.
Look at the great service Google is providing.
I know. Thank you, Google.
When me and Tommy first started thinking about being poly, and this was before I met you, we actually went to someone told us about almost like a kind of like a therapy type thing, but they have a bi-weekly, I think.
Are you talking about Poly Meetup?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where you can go and kind of talk to other poly people, and if there's a situation or something you're not really sure, you can talk about it if you want to.
It's like a peer support
session.
And
so we went, and it was, at first we were like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do here. They're asking our pronouns, and we're like, okay.
I almost said my pronouns in my intro. They are, my pronouns are, I'm 100% that bitch.
Hells yes. But, so we went, and we were like, okay, we were super shy and quiet and stuff, because we didn't know what the hell we were doing. But there was one girl there that she was talking about, she had weekly chats with her kids. Her kids, they were kitchen table poly, and she would basically check in with her kids once a week, hey, is there anything that's happened at school? Do you have any questions about, who we're dating? What's going on? Are you good? Do you have any concerns? And it got to a point where kids were like, Mom, we're fine. We'll talk to you if we need to, we're good. We like the person you're dating. It's fine. So it was it was interesting. And I guess before COVID, there was something called Atlanta Poly that they do every summer, in June or something like that. And she was telling us there was a panel at one point where it was all kids that were raised in poly households.
Love that.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
I thought that was so interesting. It was basically you could ask them questions, almost how was it for you growing up this way? How did that affect you? And it was different ages and different, genders and stuff, just to get an idea of how kids are affected in that type of lifestyle.
There's a lot of data and a lot of articles. I mean, you can Google, kids and polyamory. The resounding answer, and I get this question a lot, is oh my God, aren't you worried about how this is going to affect your kids? The data shows overwhelmingly that kids really do benefit from the additional adult support.
Right.
Whether it's carpool or, your kid is sick. But even beyond that, especially as kids go into their formative years, teenagers, we need all the help that we could get when raising teenagers, right? And I don't even have teenagers, but I do remember being a teenager of a single mom and thinking, God, I just wish that I had more people to love me, more people to care, more advice, more structure. My current partner has 2 teenage daughters. And when I tell you that these girls would probably be the most well-rounded, great kids without polyamory, but they have additional support to talk to about issues or to get them to their games or whatever. You have to remember that as a species...
It's a village, right?
It's a village.
A village, but you don't have a village. But in polyamory, you can have a village.
You can have a village. And you can have a village in monogamous relationships also. I think it's just a little bit... It's just a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
I have this theory that as humans, we were never designed to be a monogamous species in the first place. I mean, if you think about, what are we supposed to do? We're supposed to go out and do what this guy is doing in this porno right in front of me. We're supposed to breed and propagate and create nations, right? Like, I don't know whatever happened to that.
Yeah.
I don't know how we got away from that. But it feels more natural for me.
My husband
to
has
have
a theory.
What's his
theory?
Well, that... to keep people, I don't want to misspeak for him, but basically, if everyone's fucking everyone, it can get a little unchecked and violence and things can start to happen. So he kind of feels like that was maybe a little bit of organized religion, and monogamy was to tamp some of that down.
Right. Because
so many people probably mentally would struggle and emotionally would struggle with being in polyamorous relationships.
It is hard. It can be very emotionally taxing.
Yeah.
Especially when there's conflict. I have been in a polyamorous relationship where the person that I was dating was more monogamous minded. That was a struggle. I won't say that people that are in mono-poly relationships can't be successful or make it work, but it was a constant uphill battle because the monogamous party in the configuration at every point and turn, we would introduce something as simple as my partner being in my home. And that was just too intimate for that spouse to wrap their mind around. And so it was a relationship where we really had to trudge to gain any...
Just like a fight for anything.
It was a fight for anything. And I do not want to bash people that, have a monogamous party and a polyamorous party. It can work. I think that you have to do a lot of work as a unit. So if you have a monogamous spouse and a polyamorous spouse, you really have to do a lot of work before you put that into practice. And then when you do start putting into practice, I think it's important to check yourself. Is my fear rational? Is my sense of control? That's another big thing.
Oh, yeah.
Is my sense of control rational? What is the worst possible scenario if this person has an overnight date that's not in a hotel?
Yeah.
What is the worst possible scenario that can happen if I am home alone while my partner's on a date? You really have to it's a lot of inner work. It is. Yeah. And it can be very exhausting.
Mm-hmm. So Tommy dated one girl that I did struggle with. And it was kind of like, we were still pretty new to poly. And so I had met one girl, the first girl he kind of dated. Once I met her in person, it put so many fears to rest. I was like, okay, we had this chat. I saw her as a real person, her personality. And I felt like there was a mutual respect there. She respected my place as his wife. I respected her. I wouldn't, ever do anything to jeopardize her relationship. So it was like I felt better about that once I met her. And then it was like, okay, I'm good. Mm-hmm. And then he started dating another girl at one point, and it's like every time I met her, I just didn't get that same feeling. And I'm like, why am I still feeling this? And I'm like, is it my own insecurities? What is going on? Is it like, am I just insecure about this situation? And I really was struggling. And I was trying to figure out, pinpointing what was making me jealous. Because I did used to be a really jealous person. And so I'm like, I did blame it all on me. Like, I must just be being jealous. Like, it's just my issue. Like, I need to deal with this. But the more I he was dating her, I just was not feeling okay about it. I'm like, what is not okay here? And then I started feeling like, I think I just didn't feel like she respected my place as his wife in some way, or like.
What does that look like to you? Respecting your place?
Just like, to me, I think like you're saying, like that compersion, like just being kind and friendly, and just like, I know that you would think of me in your decisions as well. Like, just like I would never, just because I had the power to say, oh no, you can't see her this weekend. I would never do that.
That's called veto power.
Yeah, I would never do that.
Yeah.
So I want to know that they also wouldn't be like laying in their bed, like talking shit about me, or being like,
no, that's a given.
You know, like that kind of feeling. Like, I know that they have their separate relationship, and that's fine. Like, I'm happy for them. Like, I know, like, I would be glad that she's giving him something that, you know, maybe I don't, or just a different situation or whatever, different personality. But like, you know, that feeling of that, I just felt like she was a little sneaky, or like a little selfish, or didn't appreciate him really. And so it was just like, I think like as they started dating longer, I just cannot get.
Did you voice your concerns about his partner?
Yeah. And
how was that received?
Well, he was not seeing what I was seeing.
Obviously.
And I did put it on me. Because we were still so new on it, I did usually just assume it was probably my issue.
Right.
I didn't.
And that's
think
hard
it was
too
her.
when you're talking about energy and vibes. Like, if they're not doing anything tangible to piss you off or disrespect you,
It was just,
that can be
I was
tricky.
like, oh, it's probably
feeling.
just in my head.
It's just
just in my head. Yeah, it's just me. It's
And
just
really,
my own
that
issue.
comes down to having trust in your partner, that they're going to make good decisions for not only themselves, but like your family life, right? So,
well, yeah, and that's what I think. You know, he was like, why do you, like, I would never leave. And I'm like, I know that. Like, I know that. So why am I feeling this way? Like, I don't know why I'm feeling this way. But, I mean, eventually, she was kind of a selfish person. So it
took care of the trash took itself out, right? So there you go.
It ended. And later he was like, yeah, now that I'm looking back, I see all that stuff you were talking about.
I've had relationships like that. Scott and I are really big on not exercising what's called couples privilege.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but couples privilege is very prevalent, especially with new people that are married and going into polyamory. It is the idea that a nested or married couple makes all the rules, that they have ultimate, control over who comes in, what they can do. I have a really big problem with couples privilege because I am going to ask what your marital boundaries are. I'm going to respect those. But beyond that, if I'm not fucking you and you're not paying my bills, I really don't want your direct input on what me and my partner are able to do in our relationship.
Right.
And that sounds really strong, and I'm sorry if that sounds really strong. But that middle partner, we call that a hinge. If the person is married, they have a lot of responsibility to manage their multiple partners and to make sure that boundaries are being addressed. I am very anti-couples privilege. I have received so much abusive behavior from spouses that try to dictate.
Right. See, and I never wanted to be that person. Like,
it can be really damaging.
I think I understand, like, I've told Tommy before, I'm like, let's say we're both having a bad day, but I know what, like, you tell me what she's going through. If I know her, like, I want you to be there for her. Like, you have to have enough. And I think what Carrie said this, like, that's an elevated, like, totally different way of looking at things. It's like
extreme empathy.
If I know that person, that woman is going through something, I want you to be able to be there for her. But I want her to have that same respect for me. Like, if I'm having a really bad day and you're fine, let him come to me.
Right.
And I will do the same for you.
Yeah.
I just want to know that they are giving as much as I am giving.
Advocating for you.
Exactly.
Like you're advocating for them.
Yeah. Like, I don't necessarily think I'm like above them.
No.
I just want to know that's what I said, that mutual respect. Like, I want to know that if you feel like if that's what you would want in your relationship, you would do the same for me. Looking like, put yourself in my position type thing and try and go about it that way, I guess.
Yeah. Empathy can be a beautiful thing. And it takes you kind of coming out of yourself and ego, right? And that's really hard.
Yeah.
That's really hard to come out of ego.
For sure.
Good stuff.
Yeah. I'm watching this man undress this woman, and it's really hot.
It's so tiny. I can't see without my glasses. Our porn.
There is a lot. What is this queue of porn? What is this?
I don't
Amateur
know.
1,
Mr.
amateur
Mocha,
2, amateur 3.
We had really crazy porn last week, so Mr. Mocha was like,
was
okay,
terrible.
what can I pick for you guys tonight?
What kind of porn do you guys watch? Can we take a segue?
Normally, we watched Blacked.
Oh, gotcha.
We usually
Are you talking about like when we masturbate, or?
Yeah, what's your go-to?
Oh, I thought you meant like during podcast.
Well, I can see what you guys watch during the podcast.
Well, normally during podcast we watch Blacked.
I do love some BBC gangbang porn. That's some of my favorite. I also love massage porn.
Oh, okay.
Oh, where they start as a massage and then it turns into like what Mr. Mocha's about to do to me.
Hello, Mr. Mocha.
Actually, my shoulders are really tight, Mr.
I like
Mocha. Thank you
fisting
for
porn
that.
too. I like fisting porn.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you get fisted though? You do want DVP though.
Yeah, Steve has fisted me before.
Oh, okay.
And I think I told the story about a girlfriend at Trap.
Yes, I think you did.
Yeah.
I had to do a video on mini-vids where I fucked my whore MILF pussy, my whore MILF cunt, and I had to talk about fisting, like getting fist fucked.
I love this segue.
I'm like, wait, but I don't actually want to be fisted. And he's like, it's okay, just talk about it and you can like finger yourself. And I'm like, okay, I can do that.
Oh, Lord.
What about you? What kind of porn do you watch?
I watch a lot of degradation porn. So as I mentioned, I am very big into BDSM. I like to be degraded and called horrible, horrible names and have your boot stomped on my face. So anything that is rough and degrading, I'm super into. I also love to watch pegging porn. Mr. Mocha.
Did you?
I love to watch men and women get pegged. So yeah, that's my go-to.
Wow.
Yeah.
I usually watch Girl on Girl.
And Hobie Buchanan. Shout out to Hobie Buchanan. He's my favorite.
Oh, yeah? Now I
Yes.
gotta look who that is.
Oh, he's the best. Do you know? Mr. Mocha, do you know? Are you familiar?
I've got nothing.
Oh, my God.
I'm a face person, not a...
No. The way he throat fucks women it's an art form.
Really?
It's beautiful.
Okay, I'm gonna have to look this up now.
So just out of curiosity, when you say being throat fucked,
No, she
like, do you want to be throat fucked? Because I have people who say they want to be throat fucked and you do it. They're like, wait a minute, that's not what I meant.
I mean, I like to throw up and vomit on cock. So,
So yeah, she's talking about
She's legit.
some real throat
fucking.
Yeah. You come over when you haven't eaten. Come over when you start with
I'm in a closed polycule, but thank you for the invitation. If that changes, I'll let you know.
I don't know about all that, but okay.
You asked. Carrie asked. I thought we were in a safe space.
No, you are very in a safe space.
we only judge each other here.
Okay.
I definitely have almost thrown up a couple times, but I have swallowed it back down.
I do always swallow it back down. Like a champ.
I had one throw up episode.
Hold on, let me breathe. Swallow. Okay, all right.
I had one throw up episode on a solo play day, but it was early in the not early in the morning, but it was a morning play day, which I wasn't used to, and I'd eaten Chick-fil-A that morning.
Hey, at least it was the Lord's chicken coming up.
It's like, and
It's the best when you've eaten something spicy and it just lingers in your chest. Oh, yeah.
I'm not a throat fuck kind of person. And this was someone that I had multiple solo play dates with, but for some reason he just kind of grabbed my head and started going for it, and it was like there.
Yeah,
and
I'm not gonna lie.
I'm kind of glad that it was someone that I had played with before, because
comfortable.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, and like we dealt with it and it was fine.
It's, vomiting on cock is just a different type of regurgitation. Where, like, if you have like the stomach flu, it's faster, it's more projectile. It's different when you're being throat fucked, because you can feel it in your gut come up, so you can mentally prepare for that. And like Megan said, you just take a deep breath, choke that shit back down.
Yeah, but if they don't let you, that's like, if you grab me and you don't let me let go, then it's like, well, that's on you.
Well, then
man.
that's on you, baby.
That's your fucking problem. If you don't, like,
Literally,
if I'm pulling away,
literally,
it's literally going to be on you. If I'm pulling away, like, I know I'm about to, like, okay, like, I can deep throat. But
I want you guys to look up Hobie Buchanan on
gonna look him
Pornhub.
up.
He is amazing.
How do you spell Hobie?
Hoby?
Hoby. Okay.
I'll have to.
He'll come right up. She's looking it up right now.
I'm gonna have
Bookmark
to
it.
look him up.
He's
Yeah.
great.
Bookmark.
Pornhub is like
If
my
I-
number one. I mean,
my God.
it comes up right there.
I do the little. Once Tommy showed me how to do the private search on iPhones, he's like, I should have never fucking showed you that, you perv. I'm like, ooh, what? I can look at
Hobie
porn easier?
Buchanan.
Okay.
Funny.
I swear, when I was in college,
Yep,
I got
that's
a
him.
laptop.
Oh my
and
gosh.
It was
He is
riddled with
so
porn.
rough on these girls.
Yeah. I don't know if I can watch that.
What?
I'm not gonna lie.
I struggle with the rough stuff.
See,
Oh, then you
me
shouldn't
and
watch that.
Carrie,
Yeah.
we like to
really do.
worship a cock in our own way.
Yeah.
Where we take our time and we do what we want to do. Like,
Yeah.
just sit back and lay
No,
back.
I
and
like
let me
my
do it.
holes
I
used.
say
yeah, I
that I like a little bit of pain with my pleasure, but I don't like that kind of
Yeah,
pain. Like I
I'm with you, Karen.
I just like having my pussy stretched a little bit. That's really about as much pain as I can
I'll
take.
like do a little bit here and there, but like if I'm giving a blowjob, like I really do, like that is to me an art form, and I want to
yeah.
do it how I fucking want to do it. Like your
I mean,
pleasure,
I do that sometimes too.
your pleasure is in my fucking mouth.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna control what you get to feel.
Megan is a dom.
So you're gonna lay back.
She's a dominatrix.
I just
Are
want
people listening? So we're live right now.
Yes,
is that
we are.
right?
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
live.
I just realized that I gave my new boyfriend that I've only been seeing a couple months this link, and here I am, like, oh yeah, like
You
my
didn't
whole-
say his name. You're fine.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying he's hearing me talk about how I like to puke on cock. That's probably super attractive.
Okay, when I start dating somebody and I tell them I'm on a podcast, they're like, "Oh, what is it?" I'm like, "You can't listen to it yet. No, you're not ready for that. You're going to hear a lot more about me than I'm ready for you to
I don't know.
hear."
I think he's a keeper,
You're gonna be like, because I'm like, yeah, get that dick, slobber on that, and they'll be like, what the fuck?
surprise.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, yeah, that's like lifestyle, Megan, where I'm like super wild and crazy. You'll get that.
We love
but
super
let's
wild and
ease
crazy,
you
Megan.
into that. I don't want to scare you. Let's just like ease you into that.
Let's go on a coffee date first.
And then I'll give you a blowjob after the coffee date in my van, probably.
yeah.
There you go.
Oh, okay.
What else you got, Megan?
I'm trying to think. Did you have anything else you wanted to cover? We've been on for an hour and a half.
I feel
Oh my
like
God, really?
well,
Yeah.
115, 112.
Okay.
I feel like I had a little lesson. I mean, I've always, super
Got a little-
educational,
I think so, too.
informative, yeah. And I mean, we've talked about the ethical slut on here. I felt like I had jealousy issues when my husband and I got into swinging. So that the ethical slut, everyone know, that's kind of like the Bible for any sort of alternative sexual lifestyle. That book really opened my eyes to all of the variations of sex and love. And that's when, that fear of the jealousy, the fear of what is it really that you're afraid of, asking yourself that question, realizing that love isn't finite. Like it's love and lust.
There's so much of it. Yeah.
He's not giving it all to me, and he could never give it all to me, and it's okay for him to give it to other people.
Right.
Like those sorts of realizations, that book was transformative for me. So
there's a couple other really good resources if I could shout out, and maybe this will be
for sure.
helpful. So one of the books that I really love is called More Than Two. More Than Two was kind of like a roadmap on how to transition from non-monogamy to a more emotionally connected romantic relationship. So I really love that book. And another one that you wouldn't think of, but I would actually recommend reading it as soon as possible, is the polyamory breakup book. And some people are like, oh my God, like, you know, if your relationship is good, or if you haven't experienced a poly relationship, why would you read a breakup book? It was transformative for me, like to be able to know how to handle the ending of a polyamorous relationship, because it can be really stressful, especially if you have other partners that are helping you go through that process of a breakup in a poly relationship. So the polyamory breakup book is one. And then one that is not specific to polyamory, but is really, it changed my life in communication, is called Nonviolent Communication, or NVC, which is it's a way to talk to anyone, but specifically to your partner, about what is alive in them, really getting to the root of your emotions. I use the tools from that book on a daily basis.
Oh, wow.
So it's called Nonviolent Communication. It talks a lot about conflict resolution and how to do that in a peaceable way, in a constructive way. And it really helped me to go from, I would say I was probably a very combative partner when it came to conflict resolution prior to getting into non-monogamy. And it really transitioned me to come, if I had a conflict, to come to the table in the spirit of like collaboration and cooperation. And my husband would say that, and he says all the time, that being in a polyamorous relationship has completely changed the way that I communicate, specifically to conflict resolution. It has, I'm just not even the same person. And that book has a lot to do with it. So
Steve and I have the same conversation, that we feel like lifestyle has changed the way we communicate with each other, but also the way that we individually communicate with other people. Like, it's just given us a whole other awareness of the words that we're choosing to use, the words that you're choosing to use to express your emotions. And I think lifestyle has 100% made me a better communicator.
I agree. Yeah. Well, and even with myself.
Oh, yeah.
Like how to deal with my own emotions, how to work through those things, why, like look at it, like why am I feeling this way? What is causing this feeling? Okay. And like doing that self-work. But and I was going to add, like you said that what was the second
The polyamory breakup book.
Yeah. I was just going to add, like, the one thing that I have found, like there was when me and my ex broke up, it was such a loving, like very weird to most people, I'm sure, a weird situation for most people to imagine. But like, here I am kind of sad. And, you know, like Tommy, my husband, who I love, is comforting me over another man, like trying to make me feel better, like having that love, but him understanding that I am also sad about a other situation.
Right.
You know, like that is a different kind of love. That like, here he is, like understanding where I'm coming from, and like trying to comfort me and support me in a totally different way that like most, you know, situations you would not ever have to deal with, you know? But it was just like, I don't know. There's just so many like light bulb moments where I was like, oh my gosh, this is like, you just get deeper and stronger and communicate better and just have this different type of relationship where I think you just see the person in all their ways, like all the things that all the ways they need to be loved. And it's just, I feel like very enlightening, I guess.
Yeah.
In some way.
It can. When you sit back and look at it like that. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm a podcast person. I listen to a shit ton of podcasts. It's really ridiculous. My husband will tell you I'm always like walking the dog, listening to a podcast, headphones on at the computer, listening to a podcast. But I heard one.
We have a request to talk after your.
Okay. I heard on one of the podcasts I was listening to earlier this week that your relationships are the most important things in your life. And the heartbeat of those relationships is communication. Mm-hmm. And it's not just the relationship you have with your spouse or your partner. It's every relationship in your life. So communication is key. And,
absolutely.
I'm not saying that lifestyle is the thing you should do to improve communication in your relationship, but it definitely...
It opens a lot of...
Yeah, it has to. It has to, or you're not going to survive in lifestyle. Yeah.
Okay, so I have, I think I did it right. Sorry, this is new for me because Miss Mocha is not here tonight. BBC Bunny, are you able to speak? It says speaker. Did you have a question? Maybe? It says mic is on.
Yeah, I can't hear.
Yeah. Sorry, I can't hear you. If you did want to talk. Oh, they muted their mic now.
Yeah.
It says they're talking.
Looks like she's talking, but... Is it a guy or a girl?
I don't know. It says BBC Bunny.
Yeah, I'm not hearing anything.
I'm sorry. I can't hear you.
Yeah, we're not having technical difficulties. We're just not sure
how to... We're just kind of new at this. Because usually Miss Mocha handles this part.
Usually the one handling all of this.
But if you want to message me or Carrie or Miss Mocha, the question, we can maybe try and...
message you. I don't have my phone on me.
Yeah, you can message it, or we can... kind of direct you to some resources if you need any extra ones. But should we wrap it up?
Yeah, this was a great episode.
I think so too.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you so much for being on with us.
You just fit right in. I love it.
I knew she would.
I know. I knew it. Came in
thanks, Megan. It was really great meeting you, Carrie. And I'm like, this is just such a cool experience for me.
Oh, we're happy to have you.
Yeah, we love doing these. We always we try to have fun, but also
try and be
informative, give some tips, give some information.
Yeah. Oh, they tried to request again. Dang it! I don't know.
Where's Mr. Mocha?
I don't know. Can you text him, Carrie? Do you have your phone?
Yes, I have my regular phone. I don't have my horror phone.
I'm trying to say they can talk. It says speaker.
Oh my gosh. What? My boyfriend just texted me. He's like, I already knew that you liked to vomit on your dick. And he sent me a picture of him and his other girlfriend, and I just love her.
Oh, that's so cute.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that.
See? Compersion.
Oh, yes. I'm big on compersion.
At that. All right. Well, we're going to go through. Did you have... Oh, Mr. Mocha, are you coming to help us?
Yes. I asked him to come help.
Okay. Someone tried to... I pressed the...
I let him in.
Yeah.
He's in right now.
We can't hear him, though. See?
Does your phone have to be...
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yes,
there we go.
Turn it up just a little bit more.
Yeah.
Turn it up just a little bit more.
Can you turn it up a little more?
All right.
Okay, there we go. Yes, we can hear you now.
Hi.
All right. Great. Awesome. All right. So I've been listening to a couple episodes. Great show, by the way. I love the topics that you guys cover.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. My question has to kind of go with, I don't know, not really polyamory. My partner and I, who I do my content with on my Twitter page, we're kind of new to this. I'm a lot more sexually experienced than she is throughout my life. You know, she's been with just a handful of guys, and then she was married. We were both recently divorced about 3 years ago when we met, and we've been exploring our sexuality. And it's been great. It's nothing but getting better. And then about 2 years ago, she had a friend who's poly that introduced her to a club here in the Northwest that we went to. First time was a little awkward. We went to a private room and fucked, and it was great. And then the next time we went, we were in the group room where we were around people. So we're kind of exhibitionists, obviously. Mm-hmm. Now we're putting content on Twitter. We're considering an OnlyFans page, but my question was more about, I guess, the swinging thing. And pardon me, I may be a little ignorant to terminology and things like that.
Oh, you're fine.
We both.
This is a learning thing.
Okay, great. So we both kind of feel polyamory isn't our thing. We kind of feel like, and like I said, we're uneducated. We kind of feel like if you're going to be poly, it's just as easy to be single if you want to date and fuck around with a lot of different people. Then why not just be single and date? So that's really not our thing. But we are curious about maybe other couples or group play, and kind of the problem of where we're at a standstill now. And we constantly talk about it. And communication is really a big thing for us. So we're constantly talking about this. But our thing is her fantasy at this point is to have two men. And as a guy, obviously my fantasy is to have two women, and her being one of them. Mm-hmm. But we're trying to figure out how to cross that threshold and not make it awkward for the other one. So, her thing is she's a little insecure about bringing another woman in. She's not really into girls. She hasn't.
I was going to ask if she was bisexual.
No, she never has, but she's never really opened herself up to experience it. So I feel like, we could have a good experience with another woman and maybe it would change her mind, but we're just kind of at a standstill with it, where I want her and another woman. She's willing to try me and another man, but we're kind of stuck on that. So what would you recommend, the best way to kind of cross that threshold? And, I've suggested, well, maybe if we meet another couple that are swingers or whatever, that we could become friends with, and then maybe, her and the other woman or something, and then me and the other guy can just kind of sit back and let them get comfortable and then progress into something more. And like I said, I'm a lot more sexually experienced than she is. I've had multiple partners in my life, and, I've lost count a long time ago. So for me, it's kind of a play thing.
Have you done a male, female, male before in other situations?
Yes, I have. I've been with I had an ex years ago. So, I've had an ex years ago where a friend of mine and I were with her. I've also had threesomes. I've had up to fivesome at one time where it was 2 males, 3 girls, but I was younger and I was less experienced. So
I was just curious because some guys do kind of freak out a little bit with, like, if they've never performed in front of another man, or like that kind of weirds them out a little bit or something. No. So I wasn't sure if you've ever done that before.
No, it sounds like you've had more experience than she has. Yeah. And I mean, you said that you guys have reached this kind of like impasse. I mean, is it more because
you just can't find someone almost?
Well, I was going to say, is she more hesitant? Because it doesn't sound like you're hesitant. You've had these experiences, and so she's more hesitant. I think she's a little insecure. Kind of, there's an emotional aspect there because she really enjoys and she doesn't want to mess up what we have, and that's the thing. Now, my experiences were all, excuse me, my experiences were all like 15 years ago, 20 years ago when I was younger. They weren't that good. We all know, our first sexual experience or our sexual experiences when we were younger aren't the same once we mature and we know what we like, we know what we're capable of doing. Because there are a lot of things back then that I even didn't do, but the idea of being with 2 girls, was awesome. So I did it, but I don't think I performed that well. Yeah. Now I think I could perform a lot better. I could be more into it, but because of her lack of sexual experience and her insecurity about what that would do to our relationship, we're kind of stuck on that. And we've talked about progressing, but we just kind of don't know how to cross that threshold.
Now, and another thing is that she wants to keep it away from our friend group. So anybody that we're kind of just friends with now, you know, this is kind of a secret. You know, we kind of have our private lifestyle.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, we kind of have our private lifestyle. So if we were going to do it, there's no one within our mutual friend group now that she would want to pursue that with, because she just wants to keep that separate, which is completely fine.
Yeah.
But like I said, we've been to the clubs. Our sex life has been nothing but growing and greater. As far, I mean, I made her squirt. I was the first man to make her squirt, and that's something that really turns me on. So, you know, I do that. Oral sex, sucking cock. She loves to suck my cock, and with her ex-husband, she just never did that before. So, and now we're kind of in.
Can we get to the crux of the question, which is you're looking to find
how to go about actually getting that? Yeah, my thing would be if she. So I had never played with a woman when we were married, and I knew I wanted to. So in my very bisexual opinion, if she's not really sure or she doesn't think she's into a woman, more than likely she probably really isn't that much. It would take a very specific woman or maybe a very specific vibe and energy to maybe make her want to do that.
Yep.
You can do a threesome with women who are not bisexual, but you would need to be respectful of that. If she is not, all women are not bisexual. A lot of people assume that, like, oh, well, if they have a couple shots, they're bisexual. No, that's not how it is. So
I did leave this out, though. She did have a fantasy that she told me about being eaten out on a swing by another woman. So she's willing. So
she's okay being like a pillow princess, possibly. Kind of thing. Okay. So still, that would be kind of more like maybe a specific vibe. So in that situation, as much as you probably want to have two women, if she's a little insecure and she's not super bi, then she would kind of have to lead that, I think, in my opinion, for that to be a good experience for both of you.
Maybe grant her the two men on one female first.
To kind of ease her into that situation.
Ease her into more group play. That would be my
recommendation. And that usually is easier to find as well.
Oh, yeah.
There's plenty of single males.
We talked about that, actually, you know, because that is her fantasy. So I was willing. I was a little uncomfortable at first, but, you know, I'm sexually mature. I'm confident and secure with what I have. So we did talk about that. And I said, well, I'm willing to bring another man in and make you the center of attention, and him and I can make you. And
that would be really generous.
About,
that's, you know, time banking.
I think that's definitely a good way to start. It's going to be easier for you to find, and then that's going to help her confidence. It's going to make her feel a little more secure. It's going to make her a little more open to trying different experiences, possibly.
And speaking as a woman that isn't bi, I'm straight. I'm not one of those women. Yeah. I'm even hesitant to say pillow princess because I feel guilty taking pleasure from a woman and then knowing I'm not going to reciprocate.
No, a woman who's bi, if they want to do that, like I love doing it. So if you're a pillow princess, that's fine. You lay back, honey. I'm going to take care of that shit.
But like maybe
that's the difference. It's fine. You can be a pillow princess.
I'm fine doing threesomes with my husband when I'm more focused on his dick, his balls, riding his face versus
it's very different.
Me making out with the woman and him, you know, participating in that. So maybe you set expectations for what does this female, male, female threesome look like? What does that look like for you?
She's comfortable with. Yeah. Me and my husband, before we even were swingers, we went through different porns, and we basically looked at, okay, if we had a threesome, because that's where we started. I wanted to play with a woman. How would this happen? But I also didn't want to feel like I was just kind of there while they fucked. You know, like I didn't want to be the outsider.
The other thing I want to add too is making sure that the unicorn or the third is also included in these conversations so that you're not setting unrealistic expectations. And you can find people that are willing to go along with whatever scenario that you present, but respect the unicorn.
Yeah.
Respect the unicorn
and as
or bull.
As the wife, I actually, because I'm a little more dominant and I am a pleaser, I always make sure the unicorn, the woman, she's our top priority. Like, I want that woman having the best time, and I want to make sure she does not feel like we just like used her to have our threesome. No. Yeah. You're going to be the top priority and make sure you feel good. But if your woman's a little insecure, you're going to have to balance that. So you got to figure out like what positions she's comfortable with, where you would want her, where you would want the other girl, kind of get an idea of where she's at, where she would want to be. So you kind of can guide that a little bit without her being jealous or insecure.
And I'm willing to wait for that as well. That's why I offered, well, maybe just me and another guy. And then she said, well, what would you want him to do? And at first I was like, well, maybe, just some heavy petting. He could touch you, he could finger you, but not sex. And then I was like, well, why don't we just go with the flow, and just to kind of make her more comfortable in the situation. But like I said, she's not bi. She's not necessarily into doing anything to a woman, but she's willing to receive. So I'm kind of willing to, negotiate this in a way. And I hate to put it that way, but I'm willing, like, okay, we can bring another guy in, we could rock her world, make her feel like, a queen, the center of attention. And then maybe that would open her up in the other things, because I think her real insecurity is us with another woman, and whether or not I would be more interested in that person. Yeah. Or that would lead to something on the side with the other woman. And like I said, we're not into the whole poly thing. So, and I try to explain to her, it's like, I just want to have fun. I just want to enjoy the moment and then move on. This doesn't have to be a continuous thing. This doesn't have to be a regular thing. This doesn't have to turn into a relationship or anything. I just want to have fun. And maybe that's kind of a selfish way that I'm looking at it as a man. Like, what guy wouldn't want two women, to give attention to and to give you attention.
Or 3 or 4. And I'm like, honey, you can't handle all of it.
And most unicorns know what they're getting into. They're not having the expectation that you're going to bring them in as a regular or a relationship. If you talk about that up front, I mean, I've told women, listen, I want to use you and I don't ever want to fucking talk to you again. And there are women that are totally okay with that. You just have to have the conversation on the front end.
Yeah, just make sure everyone understands what's going on. And I think if you talk to the unicorn as well, and just kind of let her know, like, she's not really sure if she's bi. This is kind of a new thing for her. A lot of women, if maybe the unicorn's straight, and then it's like you got one on your face and one on your dick. Like, they don't necessarily have to fool around. There are other ways to do that. But
Mr. Mocha, jump in on this. I have to ask. Yeah. Ladies, am I allowed?
Yeah. Of course, Mr. Mocha. What do you want to say, baby?
So I have to say from a guy standpoint, first things first, I would completely 80-60 idea of bringing a unicorn in. All right. Okay. She's not interested. So,
we've been in it took us a year in the lifestyle to get a threesome with a female. A year in the lifestyle.
She'll let you know. And first things first, I tell this to guys all the time. Unless you have we all have insecurities, but until you're willing to completely deal with your insecurities, because I hear you saying, oh, well, I'm willing to. That's not the right attitude. The attitude is, I want to see my woman pleased on every level. So if you know she's going to be comfortable bringing a guy in, you bring a guy in, and you are the first one who has to deal with your insecurities. At the end of the day, you're the head of the household, you're man of the relationship. Being the head of the household doesn't mean you're the boss. That means that you're going to lead by example. So if you want her to deal with all of her insecurities, you have to first show her you can deal with yours, which means the first time you see another guy rock her world, I don't care how secure you are, it's going to touch you a little bit. And then you do it again because it's not about you, it's about her. And once she sees that you're willing to deal with it, because most guys have this mentality where they it's girls. Girls always know. Girls don't always do stuff. My wife, Mrs. Mocha, is not bisexual, period. And when I brought her into lifestyle, I asked her what she liked, and even her telling me about her fantasy of being eaten out by a woman in a swing. You have to understand, your woman cares for you, so she's going to tell you shit that turns you on because she cares for you. So if she said one time that she has a fantasy of a chick getting eaten in the swing, 9 times out of 10, she said that because she thought it would make you happy. And that's the worst way. That's the worst thing you can do when she feels like she has to say things to entertain your fantasies. Yeah. So I would 86 the thought of another woman. At some point, she may become interested in it, but don't expect her to deal with anything that you can't deal with first, because you're supposed to be the strong one. And when she has a moment, when she finally does it, you can't expect her to deal with her emotions if you didn't have the ability to know what it felt like first. And so you have
that makes sense first. So that makes total sense, because with my ex-wife was the one that I had the threesomes with back in the day, and she was all down for it. Hold on a second, I'm on the phone. I'll be right there. Sorry. She was willing to go through with it. She claimed to be bisexual and all that, but then in the moment, it became a problem. Because she couldn't deal with her insecurities. Sorry about that. My 11-year-old was going to come out to my conversation here, so I had to send him away.
No, I think
great advice.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Mocha.
Thank you, Mr. Mocha.
Thank you, Mr. Mocha. Do these podcasts? Do you record these? So can I go back and listen to this and possibly share it with her?
Yes, but it probably will be a little bit. But we will release it on Spotify and other forums.
There are other podcasts on Spotify and Anchor and wherever you listen to podcasts. The O Faces podcast is there. So lots of other great episodes.
It will be released at a later date. It's not just live. It will be released. So you will be able to go back and listen to it, But we are going to have to wrap this up because our guest, Melissa, it's almost 11.
I'm about to turn into a pumpkin.
We need to drive home, and I have an hour drive home. So we're going to...
do you want to give out account information? How do people get in touch with you?
Did you want to leave anything, Melissa?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am on Instagram, Serena Kisses, and I am on...
Do you want to spell Serena?
Yes, it is SERENAKISSES. You can find me on Instagram or FetLife.
Okay.
Awesome.
You get to see my bolt hole there.
Oh. Ooh.
Did you say your butthole?
Her butthole.
Well, I know where I'm going tonight.
That was the curse. I thought that was a curse word when I was in 4th grade. Butthole.
No, my kids can't say that.
Butthole.
All right. And Carrie, do you want to give your stuff?
Yes, I am at Carrie Corrupted. Carrie is CARRIE, and I am on Twitter, Instagram, and OnlyFans. Same handle, all 3 platforms.
Yep. And I am SN Sultry on ManyVids and OnlyFans. And on Twitter, I'm SN Sultry 13. And my Instagram's on, if you really want to go to that, which it's very censored because I'm always scared I'm going to get banned.
It's hot, though. That photo you put out today, you guys in the neon?
Thanks, baby. But it's on my Twitter. I think it's like Sweet in Sultry 13.
Yes, it is.
I think that's what it is.
And then, of course,
I'm always scared it's going to get banned.
O Faces.
Oh, yes. And O Faces 1 on Twitter.
Yes.
With a Z. OFACEZ.
We need to set up a link tree for their other. I don't know. Mrs. Mocha is Poison Ginger on Twitter.
And then Xavier Blacking.
Yes.
For Mr. Mocha. Mm-hmm. But we're so glad you guys listened to us, and we're so glad Melissa came to help us and talk to us today.
It was so fun.
And Mrs. Mocha, get well.
Yes.
Get well.
Absolutely.
We want you feeling better.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We love y'all.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Come off.